On June 18, 2018, XXXTentacion was shot and killed while driving his car. Surveillance cameras would capture the ambush. A vehicle blocked his exit and two men with guns rushed him. His uncle, who was in the passenger seat, ran for safety, leaving X alone as the men confronted him for a bag of money sitting in his lap. Just seconds later, gunshots rang out and his life was taken in that moment. The senseless killing left millions of fans hurt. As the years have passed, we now have a better understanding of how the final chapter of XXXTentacion's life went.
Okay, I'm turned. At the party, pussy boy,
After the release of his breakthrough song, Look at Me, X quickly rose from an underground artist to a mainstream sensation. In late 2017, his debut album was released. The project was unlike anything else at that time, and it gave a real insight to his mind and struggles with mental illness. His message was received by fans that they weren't alone, and this is one of the reasons he was building such a loyal following. This album shut down any talk of X being a one-hit wonder, and other major artists began to co-sign him and recognize his wide range of talent. He was being considered the voice of the new generation of kids, but the main issue he still faced at that time was clearing his name from all the legal problems he was having. It's no secret X had a past he may not have been proud of. Some platforms didn't want to promote him or his music because of this, an example being the XXL freshman list of 2017. Everyone knew X belonged on the cover, but they chose not to bring him on due to political reasons. Instead, they picked 9 other artists and left the 10th and final spot for fans to vote someone in. Of course, X would win this vote by a landslide and feature on the cover regardless, but this was a clear sign it was necessary that he rebrand his image and what he and his music stood for. Blowing up, but dealing with a possible career-ending allegation at the same time, was taking a toll on him.
Currently, I'm not gonna go into my history because I hate thinking about my history. I hate thinking about the things that I don't want to remember. Currently, I'm in a huge state of paranoia, just due to my past and just the things and the people I've associated myself with previously.
In December of that year, his team submitted documents signed by his ex-girlfriend asking to drop the domestic abuse charges against him. This request was denied and only landed him more potential charges, as the judge believed he had forced her into signing these documents. Because of this, he was placed on house arrest and only allowed to go to the studio to fulfill his record label's obligations. But this is when we started to see the biggest change in the way he carried himself. He began to strive for a more positive life, often going live on Instagram to speak with his fans and try and leave them with uplifting messages.
Any negativity sent my way is being transmuted to positive energy. So any attention that's being sent my way, I want to let you guys know that I will only entertain it from a positive perspective.
His YouTube channel was launched and he used it to vlog and connect with his followers in a way most artists had never done before. This was also the beginning of his Helping Hands challenge, where he would go to different schools and donate items as well as speak to the kids about their future. Despite the negative media attention, it was clear at this point nothing was going to stop him from reaching superstar status. On March 25th, 2018, X would make SoundCloud rap history as his album titled Question Mark debuted at number 1 on the charts. On top of it, his single Sad reached number 7, giving him his first ever top 10 song. Without a doubt, he was the biggest new artist out at that time. Even critics who referred to him as the villain of the music industry said his talent was undeniable. He proved he could make the distorted rage music in the underground, and now he was showing the mainstream he could release albums with substance for the everyday listener. For a generation of kids on the brink of the worst mental health crisis in decades, X's music spoke to them. Much like how he stood up for the kids at school who couldn't help themselves, he wanted to be the voice of the youth. Although this sudden change proved to be working, some would argue X already had a feeling he might not be around for much longer due to messages like this.
If I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy.
On June 16th, X's lawyer suggested he turn himself in and stand trial for his witness tampering case. If convicted of this, he could have faced up to 20 years behind bars.
Hey guys, so I was just given 7 more charges by the state attorney's office, and I have a court date on the 15th. So I would ask that everyone come to support me and to show the positive influence that I have.
The coming days would leave X and his loved ones in fear for his freedom, but unfortunately, that would be the least of their problems. On June 18, 2018, Jose started his day like any before. He woke up around 6 a.m. and hopped online to play a match of League of Legends. His game history states he played for 22 minutes before logging off. By 8 a.m., he went to work on a song called Glass Shards that he recorded just 2 days before. He worked in the studio for about 6 hours until 3 p.m. in the afternoon, when he then called his mom, unknowing that this 2-minute conversation would be their last time speaking. X asked if she wanted to come look at motorcycles with him, but she declined and advised he not go alone, so X decided to leave with his uncle. People close to him said he never went anywhere alone. He knew he had enemies and people who were envious of his life. After all, he did make it out of an area where not a lot of people do. At 3:20 p.m., they stopped by a local Bank of America where he withdrew $50,000 cash and stuffed it in a Louis Vuitton handbag. By 3:30, he was back on the road headed to Riva Motorsports, a local motorcycle shop. What he didn't know was he was already being followed by 4 men in a black SUV the entire time, but they now knew he had a large amount of cash on him.
How does the story of XXXTENTACION end?
How is it supposed to end? Let me tell you how it's supposed to end.
5 minutes later, X arrived at the bike shop and began looking around. Moments later, 2 men are also seen on CCTV entering the store, one of which X appears to make eye contact with, probably not thinking too much of it because at this point he's used to being recognized in public. He spent about 20 minutes browsing before he decided to leave, still with the money in his bag as he didn't purchase anything. At 3:55, footage shows X's black BMW IA attempting to pull out of the parking lot when the black SUV pulls in front of them, blocking their exit as 2 men with guns rush his car. They demanded he give them his chain and bag filled with cash, to which he resisted for a number of seconds. Knowing X's history growing up, we know he's never backed down from a fight in his life. If they wanted the money, they were going to have to forcefully take it from him. But when the scuffle was over, instead of just leaving the scene, one of them took 2 steps back, pointed the gun at X, and fired. At 4:51 p.m., Jose was officially pronounced dead. Following his passing, X's music has gone on to break numerous records, including the most streams in a single day for his song Sad, which received over 10 million plays. Just 1 week after that, the music video was released, and at the time was only his 2nd music video ever. At the start of the video, he's seen attending his own funeral, which was an unusual coincidence given the timing, but the meaning behind it only gave us more of an understanding of how X was feeling before his passing. It depicted a battle between X and his inner demon. The video shows 2 versions of himself fighting, one of them appearing to be the old version of him that he had been trying desperately to leave in the past. Although X's career is arguably one of the most controversial of any artist this generation, he was never found guilty for any of the allegations against him. There's no question that he had a past he may not have been proud of, tracing all the way back to his childhood. But one thing is for certain, and that is he was making efforts to change from the person he was to the person he wanted to be remembered by. He never tried to hide the things he went through, and he laid them all out in the music he created in hopes that anyone who heard him would know that they were not alone and that better days were ahead.
The people in the positive aspect clearly see that I'm trying. The most important thing is that you try. You understand? That you just do it. That I'm trying to be a better person.